Listen to me and hear me well. Life doesn't truly begin when you're born. No. Life begins when you wake up, when you open your eyes and finally see what was always in front of you. And for the chosen ones, that moment, that awakening, it often comes at 40. You see, for years you've been running, searching, struggling, trying to make sense of the chaos, trying to fit in a world that never really understood you. But at 40, something shifts, something clicks, the noise starts to fade, and the truth starts to rise. The truth that you were never meant to blend in, you were meant to stand out. So why does the life of a chosen one truly begin at 40? Let me tell you. Let me give you 8 unshakable reasons why this is the moment everything changes. Number 1, you finally know who you are. Life has a way of molding you, shaping you, and refining you in ways you don't even realize until you look back and see how far you've come. When you reach 40, something powerful happens. You finally step into the truth of who you are. Not the person you were told to be, not the version of yourself that you created to please others, but the real you, the one that has been waiting to emerge. It takes time to strip away the layers of expectation, the pressure of society, and the weight of past mistakes. But at 40, you realize that the journey was never about becoming someone new, it was about returning to yourself. You've spent years chasing approval, proving your worth, and molding yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. But now, you don't have time for pretense. You don't have time for masks. You don't have time to be anything other than authentically, unapologetically, powerfully you. Think about it. For decades, you were conditioned to follow a certain path, to think a certain way, to believe that success, happiness, and fulfillment could only come if you checked the right boxes. You were taught to play by the rules, to be agreeable, to do what was expected of you. And for years you did exactly that. You tried to fit in. You tried to be who they wanted you to be. You played the roles given to you: child, student, employee, friend, partner, parent. And while each of those roles had value, none of them fully defined you. Because deep down there was always a voice inside whispering that you were made for more. At 40, that voice is no longer a whisper. It's a roar. It's the undeniable realization that you have nothing left to prove, nothing left to gain from pretending, and nothing left to lose by being yourself. You see, the reason so many people feel lost in their 20s and 30s is because they are still in the process of becoming. They are still seeking, still questioning, still experimenting with who they are supposed to be. And that's okay. Growth takes time. Evolution is necessary. But by the time you reach 40, you are no longer looking for yourself. You have found yourself. You've lived enough life to know what works for you and what doesn't. You've had enough experiences to understand what truly matters and what was just noise. You no longer feel the need to fit into spaces that don't align with your soul. You don't force friendships that drain you. You don't stay in jobs that suffocate you. You don't entertain relationships that dishonor you. You've done that before, and you learned the hard way that sacrificing yourself for others is never worth it. At 40, you step into a new level of confidence. Not the loud, boastful kind, but the quiet, unshakable kind that comes from truly knowing who you are. You no longer ask for permission to be yourself. You no longer water yourself down to make others comfortable. You don't play small, you don't shrink, and you don't apologize for your strength. Because now you understand that the people who truly belong in your life will respect and love you for exactly who you are. And the ones who don't, they were never meant to stay. You stop forcing connections. You stop chasing people. You stop needing external validation to feel whole, because you've learned that self-acceptance is the highest form of freedom. There is something incredibly liberating about reaching this stage in life. You walk differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself with a sense of certainty that only comes from years of trials, lessons, and victories. You no longer feel the need to argue with people who misunderstand you. You don't waste energy trying to prove your worth to those who refuse to see it. You let go of the need to explain yourself, defend yourself, or justify your decisions. Because you know the truth. Not everyone is meant to understand your journey, and that's okay. You are at peace with being misunderstood. You are at peace with being different. You are at peace with standing alone if it means staying true to yourself. And this shift is not just internal. It affects every aspect of your life. You start making choices based on what feels right instead of what looks right. You prioritize your peace over pleasing people. You invest in yourself, in your growth, in your happiness. You finally understand that saying no to things that don't serve you is an act of self-love. You don't feel guilty for setting boundaries. You don't feel bad for outgrowing people or situations. You don't feel obligated to hold on to things that no longer align with who you are becoming, because you realize that growth requires letting go. And let's talk about self-worth. At 40, you no longer base your value on temporary things. You don't measure your success by material possessions, by titles, by external achievements. You understand that real wealth is peace of mind. Real success is being able to wake up every morning and love the life you're living. Real fulfillment comes from knowing that you are walking in alignment with your purpose. You've learned that happiness is not found in validation and approval and the opinions of others. Happiness is an inside job, and when you finally embrace that truth, you become unstoppable. But this clarity didn't come easy. No, it came through pain, through heartbreak, through betrayal, through failure, through disappointment, through all the moments when you thought you wouldn't make it. But you did. You survived things that were meant to break you. You endured struggles that most people wouldn't even understand. And because of that, you walk with a different level of wisdom, a different level of strength, a different level of faith. You no longer question whether you are enough. You know you are. You no longer beg to be chosen. You choose yourself. At 40, you stop seeing yourself through the lens of the past. You stop holding on to old regrets, old mistakes, old versions of yourself. You forgive yourself. You give yourself grace. You recognize that everything you went through was necessary to bring you to this moment. Every setback, every loss, every detour, it all had a purpose. And now you are ready to live on your own terms, ready to embrace life without fear, ready to step into your power unapologetically and fully. So if you've hit 40 and you're wondering if your best years are behind you, think again. This is not the end. This is the beginning of the most authentic, powerful, and fulfilling chapter of your life. Because now you finally know who you are. And that is the greatest gift of all. Number 2, you stop caring about opinions that don't matter. There comes a time in life when the weight of other people's opinions no longer holds you hostage. That time is 40 years old. For years, you were conditioned to seek approval, to fit in, to be liked, to make sure you were accepted. You lived carefully, afraid to step too far outside the lines, afraid of what people would say if you dared to be different. But now you're done with that. You've spent too much time trying to please people who never truly cared about you. You've exhausted yourself trying to meet expectations that were never meant for you. And at this stage in life, you realize something powerful. Most people's opinions are worthless. Think about how much of your life you've wasted worrying about what others think. The times you held back because you didn't want to be judged. The moments you silenced your voice because you feared criticism. The dreams you put on hold because someone told you they were unrealistic. How much energy did you spend living for others instead of yourself? Too much. But at 40, something shifts. You wake up one day and realize that the opinions you once feared no longer hold power over you. You finally see the truth. Most people are too busy dealing with their own insecurities to truly care about what you're doing. And those who do have something to say, they don't matter. Because the people who criticize you the most are often the ones doing the least with their own lives. The loudest voices of doubt come from those who never had the courage to chase their own dreams. The ones who judge you, who question you, who try to tear you down, they are simply projecting their own fears onto you. And when you understand that, you stop taking it personally. You stop letting their words dictate your decisions. You stop giving them space in your mind, because you finally understand that their opinions have nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. At 40, you reclaim your freedom. You stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying your choices. You stop seeking validation from people who were never meant to understand your journey. Not everyone will get you, and that's okay. You are no longer here to be understood by everyone. You are here to live your truth. You don't need approval to be yourself. You don't need permission to follow your dreams. You don't need a round of applause to take the next step in your life. You simply do what's right for you. And that, my friend, is liberation. But let's be real. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It comes after years of people-pleasing, years of bending over backward to make everyone else comfortable, years of suppressing your desires because you were afraid of being judged. You spent your younger years trying to be what the world wanted you to be instead of who you truly are. You wore masks. You played roles. You kept your real thoughts and feelings hidden because you didn't want to ruffle any feathers. But at what cost? At the cost of your own happiness, your own dreams, your own peace. At 40, you refuse to play that game anymore. You choose yourself. You choose peace over performance. You choose authenticity over approval. You choose to live for your own standards, not society's expectations. And when you do that, something incredible happens. You feel lighter. You feel freer. You feel like you can finally breathe because you are no longer burdened by the opinions of people who don't even walk in your shoes. And here's the truth. Most people's opinions are temporary. The ones who criticize you today will forget about it tomorrow. The ones who doubted you will move on to something else. And those who judged you, they were never paying that much attention to you in the first place. People are too caught up in their own lives to dwell on yours. Yet for years, you lived as if their words were law. Not anymore. At 40, you choose to trust yourself. You choose to believe in your own wisdom, your own experiences, your own intuition. You don't need a committee to approve your life choices. You are the only one who has to live with them. And here's another thing, you stop apologizing. You stop saying sorry for being yourself. You stop diluting your greatness to make others comfortable. You stop feeling guilty for choosing a different path. At 40, you realize that the people who truly matter will support you no matter what, and the ones who don't, they were never meant to be in your life anyway. You stop begging for understanding. You stop trying to convince people of your worth. You stop waiting for someone to give you permission to be great. This newfound clarity changes everything. It changes the way you work, the way you love, the way you carry yourself. You no longer settle for situations that don't align with your soul. You no longer entertain conversations that drain you. You no longer waste your time proving yourself to people who were never rooting for you. You move differently. You protect your energy. You surround yourself with those who lift you higher instead of those who pull you down, because now you know better. And let's be honest. Caring too much about other people's opinions is exhausting. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you afraid. It keeps you living a life that isn't even yours. But at 40, you release yourself from that prison. You give yourself permission to be free. You start making decisions based on what brings you joy, not what looks good to others. You stop measuring your worth by likes, comments, and approval. Because your value has never depended on someone else's opinion. And here's the most powerful part. The moment you stop caring about the wrong opinions, you make room for the right ones. You make space for real connections, for genuine support, for people who see you, love you, and accept you as you are. And most importantly, you learn to trust yourself. You become your own validation, your own source of confidence, your own biggest fan. So if you've spent years holding yourself back because of what people might think, let that go. Their opinions won't pay your bills. Their opinions won't heal your heart. Their opinions won't fulfill your destiny. But your courage, your belief in yourself, that will. At 40, you finally understand this. Your life is yours. Live it boldly, live it freely, and never let another person's opinion hold you back again. Number 3, your vision becomes crystal clear. There comes a moment in life when the fog lifts, the doubts, the distractions, the noise. They all begin to fade, and suddenly you see it. Your path, your purpose, your vision. At 40, something shifts inside you. The confusion that once held you back is replaced by a deep and unshakable clarity. You no longer chase every opportunity, every fleeting idea, every voice telling you what you should do, because now you know exactly what you're here for. For years, you lived trying to figure it out. You experimented, you stumbled, you listened to advice that sometimes helped and sometimes didn't. You went down roads that led nowhere, pursued dreams that weren't truly yours, and invested time in things that didn't serve your highest purpose. And through all of that, you were searching for meaning, searching for direction, searching for that one thing that would finally make sense of it all. And now at 40, it clicks. You finally see what matters. The distractions that once pulled you away from your calling, they no longer have power over you. The people who tried to impose their vision on your life, you no longer listen to them. The doubt that whispered, maybe this isn't for you, you silence it. Because now you're walking with certainty. You no longer entertain options that don't align with your purpose. You no longer waste time on things that don't bring you fulfillment. You are laser focused. And this clarity, it's powerful. It gives you confidence you never had before. It makes decision-making effortless. You no longer hesitate, no longer overthink, no longer wonder if you're making the right move. You just know. You trust yourself in a way you never had before. You trust that every experience, every failure, every setback, every detour was leading you to this exact moment. And now you move with purpose. At 40, you stop being swayed by temporary excitement. You stop saying yes to everything just because it looks good in the moment. Instead, you measure every opportunity against your vision. Does this align with who I am? Does this move me closer to my purpose? Does this add value to my life? If the answer is no, you walk away. Without guilt, without regret, without second guessing, because you finally understand that your time is your most valuable asset. You no longer live for surface level success. You're no longer impressed by status validation or the illusion of achievement. You don't chase what society tells you to chase. You chase meaning. You chase impact. You chase legacy, because you know that real success isn't about looking good to the world. It's about waking up every day and knowing you're doing what you were born to do. And at 40, that's all that matters to you. And here's what's incredible. You start attracting opportunities that align with your purpose, the right people, the right situations, the right moments. All of them start showing up in your life, as if the universe is responding to your newfound clarity. Because when you know exactly what you want, you send a powerful message to the world. You tell life, I am ready. I am committed. I am walking in my destiny. And life, it listens. But let's be real. Getting to this point wasn't easy. You had to go through years of uncertainty, years of doing things that didn't fulfill you, years of chasing goals that left you empty. You had to experience what didn't work so you could finally recognize what does. You had to struggle to find clarity. And that's why at 40, your vision isn't just clear, it's unbreakable. It's built on wisdom, experience, and lessons learned the hard way. It's built on truth. This clarity affects every part of your life. Your relationships, you no longer entertain people who drain you. Your work, you no longer settle for jobs that don't fulfill you. Your habits, you no longer engage in anything that doesn't serve your highest self. Everything you do is intentional. Everything you invest in is aligned with your purpose. You no longer live on autopilot. You live with direction. And the most powerful part, you stop explaining yourself. When your vision is clear, you don't need approval. You don't need validation. You don't need to convince anyone to understand what you're doing, because it's not their vision, it's yours. You no longer waste energy trying to make others see what only you were meant to see. You walk forward in faith, trusting that those who are meant to walk with you will. And those who don't, they were never part of the journey. At 40, you become unstoppable. You don't hesitate, you don't waver. You don't shrink yourself to fit into places you've outgrown. You own your vision, you pursue it relentlessly, you protect it from distractions, and most importantly, you trust it. Because now you understand that the only thing standing between you and the life you were meant to live is your belief in yourself. Number 4, you have experienced enough pain to build unshakable strength. There comes a time in life when you stop running from pain, you stop fearing it, you stop seeing it as the enemy, because you finally realize pain was never sent to break you, it was sent to build you. At 40, you've lived enough, endured enough, and fought enough battles to understand this truth on a deeper level. You've been through heartbreak, you've lost people you thought would always be there. You've struggled in silence, carrying burdens no one even knew about, and through it all, you survived. But survival isn't where the story ends, because at some point something shifts. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of your pain and start recognizing yourself as a product of it. A stronger, wiser, more resilient version of who you used to be. Every tear, every disappointment, every betrayal, it all served a purpose. It all shaped you. And now, you no longer fear hard times, you embrace them. Because you know that every time life knocks you down, it's giving you another chance to rise even higher. There were moments when you thought you wouldn't make it. Moments when the weight of the world felt unbearable. When the loneliness, the failures, the setbacks made you question your worth. But look at you now. Still standing, still pushing forward, still refusing to give up. The pain that once threatened to destroy you has now become your greatest teacher. It taught you patience. It taught you perseverance. It taught you that no matter what life throws at you, you have the power to overcome. At 40, you realize that strength isn't about avoiding pain, it's about learning how to walk through it without losing yourself. It's about standing in the storm and knowing that no matter how hard the wind blows, you will not fall. You are no longer fragile. You no longer break at the first sign of trouble. You no longer crumble under pressure, because the pain you've endured has given you something priceless, unshakable resilience. And that resilience, it changes everything. You no longer react emotionally to challenges. You no longer allow obstacles to dictate your mindset. You no longer waste energy complaining about the struggle, because now you see the bigger picture. You understand that every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Every hardship is a lesson in disguise. Every setback is a setup for something greater. And because of that, you move differently. You don't panic. You strategize. You don't retreat. You adapt. People look at you and wonder how you remain so calm in the face of adversity. They don't understand why you don't break down like you used to, why you no longer seek pity, why you no longer let small things shake you. But they don't know what you've been through. They don't know how many nights you cried yourself to sleep, how many times you picked yourself up with no one there to help, how many battles you fought in silence. They see your strength but have no idea what it took to build it. And that's the beauty of it. You don't need them to understand. You don't need validation, sympathy, or recognition, because your strength isn't for show, it's for survival. It's what allows you to keep going when others quit. It's what gives you the courage to walk alone if you have to. It's what makes you unstoppable. And at 40, you own that strength. You've learned to trust yourself, to trust that no matter what happens, you will find a way through. You no longer doubt your ability to handle life's challenges. You no longer seek comfort in people who only make you weaker. You no longer allow fear to paralyze you, because you've been tested, and every test has proven one thing: you are stronger than you ever imagined. This is why life gets better at 40, because you stop wasting time fearing pain. You stop dreading the unknown. You stop worrying about what could go wrong. Instead, you face every challenge with confidence, knowing that nothing can break you unless you allow it to. You carry yourself differently. You speak with more authority. You walk into rooms like you belong there, because you do. And no one can tell you otherwise. At 40, you no longer let your past define you. You no longer let pain weaken you. You turn your wounds into wisdom. You turn your struggles into strength. You turn your setbacks into success. Because you finally understand that everything life put you through wasn't meant to defeat you. It was meant to prepare you. And now you are ready to rise, ready to thrive, ready to step into the person you were always meant to be. And the best part, you haven't even reached your full potential yet. Number 5. You recognize who your true friends are. There comes a point in life when you stop chasing people. You stop begging for love, for attention, for loyalty, because at 40, you've seen it all. You've had friends who swore they would never leave, only to disappear when you needed them most. You've given your time, your energy, your heart to people who took it all for granted. And through all those experiences, through all those betrayals, you learned one of the greatest lessons of all: not everyone who walks with you is meant to stay. The beauty of reaching 40 is that you no longer see friendships the way you used to. You no longer mistake company for connection. You no longer confuse fun for loyalty. You understand that true friendship isn't about who's around when times are good. It's about who remains when everything falls apart. And that understanding changes everything. Because now, you no longer waste time on people who only love you when it's convenient for them. You've learned to watch actions, not words. You've learned that the ones who truly care don't just speak, they show up. They don't just say they support you, they stand beside you when the world turns its back. They don't just celebrate your highs, they hold you up through your lows. These are the people who matter. And at 40, you recognize them more clearly than ever. But to get to this place, you had to go through the fire. You had to feel the sting of betrayal. You had to experience the pain of losing people you thought would always be there. You had to walk alone for a while to understand that solitude is better than false friendships. And that was hard, because for a long time you gave people the benefit of the doubt. You ignored the red flags. You made excuses for people who never showed up for you. You stayed in friendships that drained you because you didn't want to be alone, but not anymore. At 40, you move differently. You protect your peace. You guard your energy. You choose your circle wisely, because you finally understand that not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves to know your struggles, your dreams, your heart. You've outgrown the need to be liked by everyone. Now you only care about being surrounded by the right ones. And you know what's powerful about that? You stop feeling guilty for cutting people off. You stop apologizing for setting boundaries. You stop explaining why you walked away from relationships that no longer served you. Because you've learned that true friends don't need explanations. They respect your growth. They understand your silence. They celebrate your success instead of secretly resenting it. Not everyone will understand this version of you. Some people will call you distant. Some will say you've changed, and they're right. Because the old you tolerated too much. The old you held on to people out of fear. But the new you've learned that real friendships don't require constant effort to keep them alive. Real friendships flow. They feel easy. They feel safe. You no longer tolerate one-sided relationships. You no longer chase people who show you time and time again that they don't value you. You've learned that begging for love, for loyalty, for respect is beneath you. If someone wants to be in your life, they'll show it. If they don't, you let them go without hesitation. Because at 40, your peace matters more than forced connection. You've also learned to cherish the ones who have been there through everything, the ones who never changed, never wavered, never left. The ones who celebrated your wins as if they were their own. The ones who stayed up with you on your worst nights, who reminded you of your strength when you forgot it yourself. These are your real friends. And now, you hold on to them with everything you have. You no longer take loyalty for granted. You no longer overlook the quiet, consistent love of those who never ask for anything in return. Because you know how rare it is. You know how many people wear masks. How many friendships are built on convenience rather than connection. And because of that, you appreciate your real ones even more. You pour into them. You show up for them the way they've shown up for you. At 40, friendship is no longer about quantity, it's about quality. You don't care about having a large circle, you care about having a strong one. A few solid, trustworthy people are worth more than 100 fake ones. And that realization, it frees you. It allows you to live life with more confidence, more peace, more gratitude. Because now you walk through life knowing that no matter what happens, you have real ones by your side. So let people say you've changed. Let them call you cold, distant, selective. Because they don't know what it took to get here. They don't know the nights you spent questioning your worth, the pain of realizing some people only loved you for what you could do for them. They don't know the strength it took to walk away from what no longer served you. But you know, and because of that, you'll never settle again. Number 6, you become unstoppable because you understand the power of no. There comes a moment in life when you realize that the word no is not just a rejection, it's a declaration of power. At 40, you finally embrace that power. You stop saying yes out of guilt. You stop overextending yourself just to please others. You stop allowing people to take from you without giving anything in return. Because now you understand that every yes you give to the wrong things is a no to your own peace, your own dreams, your own purpose. For years, you were conditioned to believe that saying no was selfish. You were taught to be agreeable, to be accommodating, to always put others first. And so you did. You gave and gave until there was nothing left. You said yes to invitations you didn't want to attend. Yes to favors you didn't want to do. Yes to relationships that drained your energy. You sacrificed your own well-being just to keep the peace. But now you see the truth. You realize that protecting your energy is not selfish, it's survival. At 40, you finally understand that you don't owe anyone endless access to you. Your time is valuable. Your energy is sacred. Your life is yours to live, not a playground for other people's demands. And so you start saying no with confidence. No to toxic relationships. No to time wasters. No to people who only show up when they need something from you. No to anything that does not align with the life you are building. And here's what happens when you start saying no. You become unstoppable. You free yourself from the weight of other people's expectations. You stop living for approval and start living for purpose. You step into your power because you finally realize that you are not here to please everyone. You are here to fulfill your destiny. People will test you. They will try to guilt trip you. They will say you've changed, that you're being difficult, that you're not the same person they once knew. And they're right, because the old you was a people pleaser. The old you tolerated too much. The old you was afraid of disappointing others. But the new you are done living on other people's terms. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself. Your no is final. Your boundaries are firm. If someone cannot respect them, they do not deserve a place in your life. You are no longer bending over backward to make others comfortable at the expense of your own happiness. Because now, you understand that the only person responsible for your peace is you. Saying no does not make you a bad person. It makes you a person who values yourself. It makes you a person who understands that you cannot pour into others if you are constantly running on empty. It makes you a person who refuses to shrink just to fit into someone else's small expectations. You've spent too many years putting yourself last. Now, you're done with that. And here's the most beautiful part. The more you say no, the more you make room for what truly matters. When you stop wasting energy on things that don't serve you, you have more time for the things that do. More time for your purpose. More time for the people who uplift you. More time for the dreams you once put on hold because you were too busy catering to everyone else. You are no longer afraid of disappointing others because you realize that the people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. And the ones who don't, they were never really for you in the first place. This understanding sets you free. It removes the burden of trying to be everything for everyone. It allows you to focus on what truly fulfills you. At 40, you stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying your decisions. You stop feeling guilty for choosing yourself. You no longer seek permission to live life on your terms. If something doesn't feel right, you walk away. If someone disrespects your boundaries, you cut them off. If an opportunity doesn't align with your vision, you decline it without hesitation, because now you understand that every no you say is a yes to your freedom. And when you embrace the power of no, you step into a new level of confidence. You no longer second guess your worth. You no longer tolerate mistreatment. You no longer accept less than what you deserve. You move differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself with a quiet strength that commands respect. Some people won't like this version of you. They were comfortable when you were always available, always accommodating, always putting their needs before your own. But you are no longer living to make others comfortable. You are living to make yourself proud. And that shift, that's what makes you unstoppable. So keep saying no, keep protecting your energy, keep choosing yourself, because at 40, you finally understand that your life is yours to live, and you refuse to waste another second living it for anyone else. Number 7, you start moving in silence, and it terrifies people. Something shifts when you hit 40. You stop announcing your plans. You stop seeking validation. You stop telling people what's next. Instead, you move in silence, and that silence, it terrifies people. For years, you believed you had to share everything. You thought people needed to know your next move, your struggles, your breakthroughs, your dreams. You were conditioned to believe that keeping others informed meant you were being honest, open, and transparent. But now, you see the truth. Most people don't listen to support you, they listen to collect information. At 40, you understand that not everyone deserves a front row seat to your journey, because the moment you announce your plans, the doubters start whispering. The naysayers start plotting. The envious start hoping for your failure. Not everyone is happy for you. Not everyone wants to see you rise. And so you stop explaining. You stop giving people access to your blueprint. You stop letting them track your progress. You become a mystery. They see you, but they don't know what you're up to. They wonder, they speculate, they assume, but they have no answers. And that drives them crazy. The power of moving in silence is that it removes external interference. When you stop broadcasting your goals, you stop inviting unwanted opinions, you stop giving people the opportunity to discourage you, to sow doubt, to question your ability. Because the truth is, many people don't want to see you succeed. Not because they hate you, but because your growth exposes their stagnation. At 40, you learn that success tastes sweeter when it's revealed, not predicted. You no longer need applause before you start. You don't need an audience while you build. You put your head down, you work, and when you finally emerge, you've already won. And when people finally see the results, it shakes them to their core, because they didn't see it coming. They thought you were stuck. They thought you had nothing going on. They thought you were the same person you were a year ago. But when you move in silence, you let them think whatever they want. You stop correcting people's assumptions. You stop explaining why you're distant. You stop justifying why you're focused. If they can't feel your energy, they were never meant to be part of your journey anyway. People will say you've changed, and they're right. You've stopped wasting time with small talk. You've stopped entertaining distractions. You've stopped seeking permission to chase your destiny. You no longer need validation because you validate yourself. You no longer need cheerleaders because you are your own motivation. And that's why they fear you, because they can no longer control you. When you move in silence, you disrupt the norm. People are used to tracking your progress. They're used to knowing what you're doing. But when you stop sharing, they panic. Because they can't calculate your next move. They can't interfere. They can't sabotage something they know nothing about. And that's why this level of discipline is so powerful. You start focusing on results, not reactions. You stop proving yourself to people who don't even matter. You stop living for the applause and start living for the outcome. At 40, you stop being accessible to everyone. You choose your conversations wisely. You choose your circle carefully. You protect your energy at all costs. And that makes you unstoppable. People will wonder why you don't respond like you used to, why you don't engage in drama, why you don't waste time on meaningless conversations. But they don't realize you've elevated, you've stepped into a version of yourself that no longer craves attention. You move differently, you think differently, you operate on a higher frequency, and the people who are meant for you, They'll respect your silence because they understand its power. So keep moving in silence. Keep working while they're watching the wrong things. Keep building while they're distracted by noise. And when they finally see the results, they won't know what hit them. Number 8, you realize that your best days are still ahead. There's a moment somewhere around 40 when you wake up and realize you are not running out of time. You are not too old, too late, or too far behind. In fact, you are just getting started. And that realization, it changes everything. For years, the world has tried to convince you that your best moments are behind you, that youth is where all the magic happens, that success, love, purpose, and fulfillment are for the young. But at 40, something shifts. You start to see through the lie. You start to feel an energy inside you that you never noticed before. It's the energy of experience, of wisdom, of resilience. It's the power of knowing who you are, what you want, and exactly how to get it. You no longer chase empty dreams. You no longer waste time on things that don't serve you. At 40, you move with precision, with clarity, with purpose. And that's when it hits you. Your best days aren't behind you, they're ahead. Because now you have the tools to build a life that actually fulfills you. You have the patience to see things through, the wisdom to make the right decisions, and the strength to keep going when things get tough. See, in your 20s, you were figuring things out. You made mistakes. You doubted yourself. You questioned your path. In your 30s, you were still searching, still proving, still learning the hard way. But at 40, you step into your power. You understand your worth. Now, you don't waste time on things that don't align with your purpose. You don't entertain negativity. You don't chase validation. You focus, you build, you move with intention. And because of that, everything in your life starts to shift. People will try to tell you that life slows down at 40, that opportunities dry up, that dreams fade. But let me tell you something. The people who say that, they gave up on themselves. And just because they settled doesn't mean you have to. At 40, you realize that everything you've been through, the heartbreaks, the struggles, the setbacks, they weren't the end of your story. They were the foundation for something greater. Now you know how to handle life. Now you have the discipline to succeed, the emotional strength to endure, and the confidence to go after what you truly want. And here's the best part. You haven't even reached your peak yet. The greatest chapters of your life, they're still being written. You still have time to start that business, to travel the world, to fall in love again, to reinvent yourself. At 40, you see the truth. Life doesn't decline, it evolves. You don't lose value, you gain power. You don't run out of time, you just become more intentional with it. And that scares people because they expected you to slow down, to settle, to fade into the background. But instead, you're just getting started. You start setting bigger goals. You start making bolder moves. You start living life on your terms, not based on what society says you should do. You stop waiting for permission. You stop making excuses. You step into your greatness. People will look at you and wonder, how do they still have so much fire? They don't understand that 40 is not an ending, it's an awakening. It's when you stop playing small. It's when you start living with a level of fearlessness that only comes from experience. Because now you realize that regret is far worse than failure. That missed opportunities hurt more than rejection. That staying in your comfort zone is the fastest way to die while you're still alive. So you go for it. You take the risk. You follow the dream. You stop waiting for the perfect moment because you know that moment is now. At 40, you no longer fear getting older. You embrace it. Because now you see aging for what it really is, an advantage, a privilege, a blessing. You are smarter, wiser, and stronger than you've ever been. And the best part, you're only getting better. So don't listen to the noise. Don't let the world convince you that it's too late. Your best days, they're still ahead of you. And this time, you're ready to claim them. My friend, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's this. Your life is just getting started. Everything you've been through, the struggles, the heartbreaks, the lessons, they weren't setbacks, they were preparations. They were shaping you, refining you, making you into the person you were always meant to be. At 40, you don't just exist, you rise. You don't just dream, you execute. You don't just survive, you thrive. The world might try to tell you that your best years are behind you, but let me tell you the truth. Your greatest victories are still ahead. The love you deserve, the success you've worked for, the peace you've been searching for, it's all within your reach. You are no longer moved by distractions. You no longer seek approval. You walk with purpose, with confidence, with the wisdom that only experience can give. You have been tested, you have been tried, and now you are unstoppable. So don't slow down, don't settle, don't play small. This is your time to step fully into your greatness, to embrace every lesson, to use every ounce of strength you've built over the years, and to live boldly, fearlessly, and unapologetically. The path ahead is yours to walk. The doors are opening, the opportunities are waiting, the future is calling your name. Don't let anyone, not even yourself, tell you that it's too late, because the truth is, it's never too late. So go out there, take what's yours, live fully, love deeply, move with purpose, and most importantly, never stop believing in the power of who you are becoming. Thank you for your time. May you walk in strength, purpose, and unshakable faith. God bless you.